The views and opinions are those of the Wrestling Fans Insight and are not affiliated in any way with Libsyn.com or any of the major podcast platforms. This podcast may contain some offensive language and some adult content. Listening discretion is highly advised.
On this week's episode of the Wrestling Fans Insight, we've got some new champions, and we're going to give our takes on this week's programming of July 4th through July 9th on AEW and WWE programming. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are in the world. You're listening to another episode of the Wrestling Fans Insight. Here I am, John Hoppy, with my co-host. Do you just prefer to be called Will or William?
Go by William.
All right. Because I've always called you Will, Kitchen Shark, all my other fun nicknames, vice versa. So... yeah, I just feel calling you William because I've always called you Will, but William it is. Anywho, how you doing today, Will?
Super extremely tired on a nice, blistering, lovely, sunny day.
Well, you think it's summer outside here in the desert?
I think
it's a little warm.
I think we went past summer and we hit surface of the sun. It's.
I'll tell you what, man, being in the profession I am, ice cream guy, our reefers were working really hard with the heat, trying to keep the ice cream cold. And man, I'll tell you what, it didn't even take any more than a matter of seconds for it to start going soft already. That's how hot it's been here in Utah. And it's a scorcher, especially if you're working out in the heat. I can only imagine with the poor people in other areas that's way more dry heat are going through. You know, I could never be a construction worker or anything like that outdoors.
Roofing in Vegas.
Oh, yeah. I feel bad for those guys. I feel bad for anybody that has to work out in the heat. It's just terrible. It makes me miserable. I'm so used to, after being in the frozen food industry for the last 30 years, my body's just...
accustomed.
Yeah, it's accustomed to lower temps. I mean, once it hits 60 degrees Fahrenheit outside or above, I'm done.
Yep, I still suffer, and I work in an oven, so...
yeah, it's definitely not fun. But hey, we're going to get through the summer. We're doing our best, hoping our AC units can keep up. But we hope every one of you are enjoying the summertime. Definitely having great moments out there with your families and everything. But nonetheless, this was definitely an interesting week of wrestling, would you say?
Yeah, it was interesting. We had some really big things happen, but it almost seemed like, you know, after the pay-per-view event that we just went through, that things just kind of took a back seat, but not in a bad way.
No. Like I said, it was definitely an interesting week. It had its goods, it had its bad, but nonetheless, you know, it just...
I think they put more content into what they were doing this time.
Right. And I think with the whole... I mean, it's really hard not to talk about it. With everything going on with Vince McMahon right now, it's kind of like we're having some big distractions in the wrestling world on both ends, whether you like Vince or you hate him. You know, there's a lot going on there, more than what we all probably know, but it seems like every day something new's getting more exposed, and it's definitely making some interesting times for the WWE. But, you know, there's more to the wrestling world than WWE right now. Unfortunately, like I said, there's always highs and lows. Unfortunately, we're starting to see the lows for the guy who revolutionized professional wrestling, sports entertainment, however you want to look at it. Anyways, well, we're going to get right to it, and we'll start with the WWE here. We're going to just take a short break, and we'll get right back to it. starting this week, I think we're going to change up the format like I've promised. I think it was 2 or 3 episodes back. We're still going to do the normal results over WWE and AEW's weekly programming, but I think in addition, we're going to start giving our top 10s. One, just because I don't have time to modify our website, thefansofprowrestling.com. I do intend to hopefully get that site redone here in the next few months. It's just coming down to where I'm going to probably need help from a professional web developer, and that hopefully meets my budget, because I know they're really expensive to do, especially when you want to make it look good. And I really want to make sure they get paid for their hard work. That's why they charge so much, is they do such awesome job at things that normal folks like us can't do. Nonetheless, end of my little ranting there. Ranting, or whatever you want to call it. Let's go ahead and start with the WWE programming for July 4th on Monday Night Raw. We'll just go over the results real quick. The Mysterios get the win over Judgment Day via disqualification. I love the ending of the match. We had Rey Mysterio pull the classic Eddie Guerrero, where Finn Balor had the chair, but unfortunately it wasn't Rey that brought the chair in. It was Damian Priest who threw it into Balor, but Rey, with a little bit of quick wits there, hits the ground, makes it seem like Balor hit him with the chair, with the referee turning at the right point, and referee disqualifies Judgment Day for a mock use of the chair. I mean, that's one that at least they don't overly use, consistently.
No, they don't. Really, there was a lot more shout-outs towards Eddie Guerrero than I think most people realized. Just the way that Rey Mysterio wrestled that particular match. The little actions, like, the Viva la Raza shake, and, of course, going for Frog Splash. As you mentioned, the chair. That's definitely classic Eddie.
Yeah, the lie, cheat, steal, and
yeah,
still gets you the win if you do it right.
But this was a good match. It was competitive all the way up until that DQ.
Right. And, I thought for sure it was going to end if Rey hit that frog splash, but of course Balor got the knees up just in time.
Yeah.
But it was still a good finish. Like I said, I'm not usually a fan of DQ finishes if they don't make sense, but this was a classic, a good way to celebrate a holiday program, And then we go on to, well, actually, let me mention this. Later in the show, backstage, Judgment Day attacks the Mysterios very violently, and I think the message is clear. This feud's going to continue on. Probably, obviously, at least through SummerSlam. However, I'm still thinking we might see Dom turn on Rey at some point. Who knows?
So, here's a weird idea. Dominic turns on his dad.
Yeah, that's
no, I'm not done. And then joins forces with Veer.
Yeah, that could be a thought, but I think Dominic would just stay with Judgment Day if that's the case.
Well, I'm sure that's the way it would go, but
it wouldn't be a bad idea. But yeah, I think Veer Mahan's going to be just better off staying as like a solo guy, striking fear in everyone's hearts, as I guess the saying is for him. Anywho, we move on to the next one. Mr. Tiny Balls, The Miz, you're welcome there, Carlos, takes a loss to AJ Styles in a clean finish. AJ finishes him off with the forearm. The phenomenal forearm. Don't really have a whole lot for the match other than, I think, with Ciampa attacking AJ Styles after the match.
Yeah, they're going a direction there, but this actual match that took place, you've heard me use the term before, I just call it a filler match.
Yeah, that, or I'm thinking wow, there was a light glitch in our room there. But hopefully that doesn't give us static on the production here. Our apologies if it does. Nonetheless, I'm thinking with Logan Paul getting more and more exposure into the WWE since he signed a contract, I think eventually we might end up seeing AJ Styles and Logan Paul team up against The Miz and Tommaso Ciampa for Logan Paul to get his revenge on The Miz. It would be interesting to see if that happens, or who knows, it may just stay as singles with Logan Paul taking on The Miz. We'll see how it plays out down the road. And then we have Liv Morgan doing a celebration of her SmackDown Women's Championship victory over Ronda Rousey from Money in the Bank. Gets a little emotional, but then gets double teamed by Natalya and Carmella. And eventually Bianca Belair comes down, helps settle the score. And of course, we're going to get the classic general manager Adam Pearce comes out, makes the match a tag team match. And it starts right that instant, of course. And we see the team of the SmackDown Women's Champion Liv Morgan and Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair get the victory over Natalya and Carmella. Jesus. Sorry, folks.
You okay?
No. You want me to tell you how my morning started?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, it really wasn't that bad. Just a few little minor discomforts.
Mine started at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Anyhow, back to the program. I like this whole segment because I think it's about time the women got the time they needed, and this definitely... They earned this time slot. They earned the time that they got. It was plenty of time.
It was a really well put together match. The focus was on them the whole time. There wasn't any funny business with any interruptions.
No. I mean, all four women did a great job. However, there was a few segments where I don't know, it just seems like Natalya was a little off in this match a little bit.
She might be slowing down. I mean, good God, how long has she been doing this?
Well, one spot that was real noticeable, I don't know if you noticed, she was very hesitant with that discus lariat that, her father trademarked years ago.
Yeah.
It looked like it could have went a little smoother, but it just was a little rough.
There's a few moments of hesitation I've seen with a couple of wrestlers over this week.
Yeah, it just kind of seemed like some matches didn't click very well with each other, but anywho, it still wasn't bad. It was still an enjoyable match. I think all four ladies deserve a kudos for how well it went. And then we go on to a little lead up to the next match. Apparently, during the 4th of July barbecue party, Ezekiel manages to get ketchup all over Seth freaking Rollins' dollies, and you saw that it kind of disturbed Rollins a little bit. But moments later, they're in the ring fighting it out, and Seth freaking Rollins gets the victory over Ezekiel, and Zeke looked really good this match. He was able to... He matched up very well with Seth Rollins this whole match.
Yeah, he did a great job. I mean, we've talked about it before. He's going to be a future talent that's going to go places. Great match overall. Rollins also, kudos to him. He's always been extremely solid with what he does. Probably my more favorite part was the RKO.
Out of nowhere, Riddle comes in and hits it right on Rollins. And
yes, sir.
I seen so many criticisms like, that RKO looked terrible. I'm like, no, that fucking RKO looked great.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
He placed his arm where he needed to place it. It was well executed.
Yeah, I thought it was well done, and it was unexpected, really. I really thought Rollins was going to do the post-match attack on Zeke, but Riddle beat him to it, and that threw me off.
Okay.
And if you're wondering what that loud thud sound was, that was our neighbor kids hitting the window to our little wrestling room here, so sorry about that, folks. Kids will be kids, I guess. Anywho, where did we leave off? Rollins, right? Riddle hitting the RKO on Rollins.
Right.
All right, so let's move on to the next match, which was a damn good match overall, especially for the ending. Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits defeating the team of Theory and Alpha Academy.
Yeah, I really did not expect to ever see these matchups for tag team competition. And I was curious to see if they were going to work well together, and they definitely nailed it.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure how the rumors started with the Street Profits not getting along with each other backstage or something. I'm sure, that's obviously kayfabe, but...
Yeah.
It just came out of the blue.
What I've read is something about WWE trying to focus more on a singles career for Montez. And I'm not going to buy into it until we see something.
Well, I mentioned it in earlier episodes. I think Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins can be good single stars, but I think it's just too early to split them right now.
Yeah.
I just think leave them as a tag team and have them keep fighting the Usos until we decide who's going to be the clear victor out of that feud. Nonetheless, my highlights was Otis, doing some really good acting, especially after the hot dog eating contest with Dawkins, and somehow Akira Tozawa winning that competition. Bullshit. Anyways, well, I don't know. I've seen skinnier guys win those damn things.
I believe the world record holder was a little tiny Asian guy for a long time.
Yeah. And then I guess it was Joey Chestnut for quite a while or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I don't ever doubt him.
And no. It just looks are deceiving, I guess, in those types of competitions. But I know I would never do it. And I'm still a fairly big guy, even though the amount of weight I've lost over the year. I'm like, Jesus, I don't know how you guys can do that to yourselves.
So I'm pretty much a pure hater of hot dogs. So this for me was disgusting.
But yeah, Otis, he definitely shows great athleticism being a big man, but the acting he did right at the end where he was just spewing, almost hitting Gable almost a couple of times there, and then just keeps doing it on the floor. I love the fact that Graves just kept highlighting that during the broadcast. So, oh, man. I didn't think Graves would be that humorous because I'm not a real big Corey Graves fan, especially with what happened with Jonathan Coachman. But I do give Graves his due. He is a great broadcaster. I do think, however, at some point, hopefully he goes back to the ring since he's been cleared to wrestle again. But anyways, I also thought Lashley and the Street Profits worked well as a team.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, like I already said it. I was curious to see how they were going to work together, and it was flawless.
Yeah, the match had perfect time. It gave exposure to all six men in a great way. I almost would say that was probably the second best match of the night.
Yeah, the only disappointment that I had with this match is that I didn't notice the fans being overly hyped about it.
Well, and
I think they might have been confused as to which direction to cheer for because...
Well, the problem is you get into some of these hill towns and all that, and you just never know what's going to happen. That's the beauty of going to them live, is the thing I don't really like when it comes to TV production is for those of us that watch at home, it sounds like the fans aren't into it. But when you're there live, it's a much different view. Well, much different experience. Sometimes those TV productions don't really do the fans in the crowd justice. But nonetheless, we're going to move on. Next match, I'm just going to say it, total shits. There is no reason to have it on the air.
Yeah.
It did nothing for Gunther or R-Truth whatsoever.
I believe I wrote down why.
Yeah. I'm looking at a lot of the experts' opinions on this. They're like, why did this match take place?
Yeah,
what was the point?
Yeah, this was like a step back.
Yeah, I get it. Gunther is a dominant athlete, but we know that. We just didn't need to see a mix in with R-Truth. It just it didn't move the needle in any direction.
Nope.
But moving on to the next match, the main event, which I thought definitely was in the right spot for the card. It was match of the night as I ranked it. Becky Lynch defeating Asuka in a no holds barred.
Yep.
Oh, God. Those two ladies brought it to the table, literally.
Yeah, this was a crazy, crazy physical match.
I love my couple of highlights was, Asuka hitting the missile drop kick with Becky Lynch having the trash can or having the trash can over her. That was a good spot there. But I also loved the way that ending came out with the manhandle slam from Becky Lynch onto Asuka through the table.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a perfect finish. I'm sorry. Would you disagree with that?
No, not whatsoever, because not only did it look great, it was timed right, great finish, but on a more serious side, the landing of it was dead on too, in a way that it shouldn't have caused too much physical damage.
Yeah. I mean, it was just perfect overall. And we're going to take a short break, and then we'll move on to NXT 2.0, The Great American Bash. Welcome back, and after listening to our fun music, we'll get right into the NXT 2.0 Great American Bash. We have new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions as the team of Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez defeated Toxic Attractions, JC Jane, and Gigi Gold.
Dolan. Jesus. It's Dolan.
Sorry, folks, my 95-mile-an-hour mouth only works for my 5-mile-an-hour brain. So, yes, they defeat the team of JC Jane, Gigi Dolan, Toxic Attraction. My highlights was watching Mandy Rose get ejected after pulling the referee from inside the ring. That was a pretty awesome segment to see. The referee didn't disqualify Toxic Attraction for that and just ejected her.
Yeah, and it's not very often they give the boot to Mandy Rose off of airtime.
No, but at least it didn't cheapen.
No,
it didn't cheapen the match whatsoever.
No, this was a great match. It was fought well, put together well. Congratulations to the new champs. I think most everybody wanted to see this.
Yeah. The only thing I notice is I think it could have been better choreographed.
Yeah.
It just seemed like there was a few missed spots that could have transitioned very well.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it still ended up being an entertaining match. Seeing new champions, especially on a old school theme like the Great American Bash, it gives the match a little more special feel when you see that type of a change. And most notably, later in the program, we see Roxanne Perez celebrating with Cora Jade in the back in an interview, and Perez says, since I'm on this high, I'm going to cash in this contract that she won from the Breakout tournament, and she's now going to challenge Mandy Rose for the NXT Women's Championship. Unfortunately, I don't really see Roxanne Perez taking the championship off Mandy. I think that's going to be more set up for Nikita Lyons, to be real honest.
Yeah.
But, hey, I'm sure it'll make for an entertaining match going down the road. The next match wasn't bad, but it felt like it was just more of a match that should have been on any regular NXT showing. Trick Williams gets the victory over Wesley, and it was...
Did we have a spot where it wasn't cheapened?
Well, no, I think the use of the rubbing alcohol from Trick Williams was actually a smart idea. You don't see that very often.
No.
I mean, lately we just been seeing mist spit in everybody's face or...
No, 3 cheers for creativity, but it seemed like they just went a little overboard with the interference. And
well, to be fair, I think the match just didn't have enough time. It just seemed like everything was rushed due to time constraints.
Yeah.
I I think down the road, though, we will see a rematch between Wesley and Trick Williams because, Wesley's going to want that revenge and justify that loss was garbage. And believably so. Anything else on that match? Or
Not really.
okay. I didn't know if you had something else because I keep seeing you look at your notes. But then we go into Tiffany Stratton getting the win over Wendy Chu. And I have to say, Tiffany Stratton looked awesome.
Yeah, I pretty much came up with the same analysis. I actually wrote down better Stratton match than I've seen before.
Yeah, this was her best match to date. Well, best performance to date. Even though it started off with Wendy Chu getting the early attack backstage, and they tried to sell it as this match was supposed to happen later in the night, which, bullshit. It still turned out to be a really good match by both women. They were more physical than usual in this match.
Yeah, and I wasn't necessarily all that worried about the physicality. Stratton and Chu both, we know they're capable of it. We've seen it. I'm seeing Stratton get a little more on point with her acting in the ring.
Yeah, she's finally transitioning well with getting her in-ring skills together. I mean, she already had the promo mic skills. She just needed that in-ring work to work on, and she's getting way better. And if she can keep this up, she will definitely be a force, not just on NXT, but if she ever moves up to
I would love to see her and Lacey Evans get into it.
Oh yeah, that would be a kind of a different match. They might even gel well as a tag team.
They could.
If that's assuming WWE brings back the women's tag team championship.
They need to.
Which we'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah.
Anywho, I do think, though, especially with this match, it was also another great way to build Tiffany Stratton's heel momentum.
Yeah.
Just to make her look very dominant. And I think she will be a worthy contender for the NXT Women's Championship here in months to come. Then we see, I'm not going to get into it too much, Apollo Crews and Giovanni Vinci get into pretty much a little bit of a segment on who the better athlete would be. I would have to say that would be an interesting match watching those two go at it. But later in the night, we see Zion Quinn get a little jealous because he feels like he should be Apollo's next opponent, not Giovanni Vinci. So if those two do have a match, Giovanni Vinci and Apollo Crews, I think Zion Quinn somewhere is going to interfere and cost Apollo Crews the match.
Probably. I haven't seen enough of Vinci yet to determine, really, other than he had a great debut.
Oh,
and he has definitely got some technical mat skills.
Yeah, his last match, which was last week, I'm trying to remember what the hell.
Hold on.
Jiro.
I got that in here somewhere, actually.
One of Jacket Time members, basically. You still got your notes from last week?
I do.
Oh. I think it was Ikeman Jiro, or I can never remember his damn name.
It's Jiro.
Yeah.
And it was a short match.
Yeah, it didn't last very long, but I mean, Giovanni Vinci looked really good in the match, too.
Yeah, I just want to see more before, they start bringing up who's more physical, who's more athletic.
Right. And really, either guy can come out looking good, no matter who wins, who loses. Both men will make each other look better, in my opinion. I think Giovanni Vinci already proves that he can wrestle just like a veteran talent.
Yeah.
Just like Theory,
Oh, that's what surprised us on that debut.
Yeah. Going into the...
Grayson Waller.
Yeah, going into the North American Championship match, Carmelo Hayes retains against Grayson Waller, and I'm going to tell you, that was my notable match of the night.
Yeah, this was killer. It was an awesome match, super athletic, and I'm starting to like Carmelo more and more and more every single time I see him wrestle.
Oh, the guy has phenomenal in-ring skills. Sorry, AJ Styles. But he's also great on the mic. He's a smooth talker. he can pretty much go with the best anytime. I think Carmelo Hayes will eventually, when he does hit main roster, he will be a big asset to that, whichever brand he lands on. Assuming that's still going to be brand split here in the future. I'm still kind of on the kick they're eventually just going to end all the brand split bullshit and unify all the similar level titles down the road. It's got to happen at some point. I just don't think anybody gets into brand splits anymore. It runs its course and it's dead. Anywho, I thought Hayes and Waller had great chemistry with each other, both doing heel tactics to keep the match very entertaining was another key point. But we also see the distraction from Trick Williams and Wesley, which kind of halts Waller from trying to hit his finisher on Carmelo Hayes. But unfortunately for Waller, Hayes hits the face buster and gets the victory. 1, 2, 3, still has the North American Championship around his waist.
Yeah, give it a little more time for Grayson Waller. We know he's going to definitely elevate.
Well, I wouldn't mind seeing another Grayson Waller and Carmelo Hayes match down the road.
Oh, yeah.
That's how good this match was.
I actually want to see both of them individually take on Finn Balor.
And I'll be honest, I know he's supposed to play a kind of like a tweener / heel, but I think Carmelo Hayes would make one hell of a face character as long as they don't change him.
Yeah.
Don't change his name, keep his gimmick. I think he'll be fine. Going on to the NXT Tag Team Championship, the Creed brothers retain against Roderick Strong and Damon Kemp, and solid match, but it didn't do anything for me. I think we're still seeing Roddy be a little bitter with not getting his release request from WWE. I thought he could have performed a little bit better in the ring.
Yeah.
Damon Kemp had a good showing, but the whole feel was, Roderick Strong and Damon Kemp were not going to dethrone the Creed brothers.
No, and I have to agree with you because I have a very basic ethic. Even if it's your last second on the job, you still do it.
Yeah. I'm not saying Roderick Strong isn't performing.
Not on the level he could.
Not saying he could have performed better, but I think you can feel the attitude coming off his performance, if you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, that's part of it, though. Your attitude is part of your character. It's part of your work. So.
Right. Yeah. And who knows? Maybe we'll see Diamond Mine still stick around if Roddy does eventually leave.
Yeah.
I think it would be proper to maybe find a way to remove Roddy and have him either go on his own or grant his release. One of the two.
I think it would be interesting to see Ivy Nile take over.
Oh, hell yeah. Get Tatum Paxley going and get her added to Diamond Mine. Yeah, shit, I'd be all for it. And then in the main event, Braun Breaker retains the NXT Championship against Cameron Grimes, which I thought it was a great match, but I don't think it was as great as the North American Championship match.
No, it wasn't.
But I did see a Cameron Grimes. I really loved seeing him be very aggressive and serious in the ring.
Yeah. We talked about the chip on the shoulder before, and he's using that to his advantage.
Well, and not any of this gimmick stuff that he's been doing over the years. Mm-hmm. This match made him look like a very legitimate contender for the top prize in NXT. And I think it made him look even more serious competitor in the singles division as well.
Definitely, especially going up against Breaker. I mean, Breaker's he's a beast.
Yeah. I mean, and seeing Braun Breaker do the family move, the Frankensteiner on Cameron Grimes.
Yeah.
Damn, that looked pretty good.
Yeah, that was high impact Frankensteiner for sure.
Yeah. But then after the match, after it was all said and done, we see JD McDonald come out and attack Braun Breaker as he was trying to exit the arena. And I think now it's pretty clear who's going to be Braun Breaker's next challenger.
Yep.
The former Jordan Devlin, but I don't know if it's former because he still carries the initials JD. I think that will be a good match down the road because we've seen what Jordan Devlin's done, not only as being a former cruiserweight champion for the company, but any of you who watched him in NXT UK know what an awesome talent he is.
He's going to be a surprise for me. I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah, you're about to be wowed by this guy. If you have a chance, you have Peacock, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, get a chance and watch some of NXT UK with Jordan Devlin, and trust me, you won't be disappointed. Welcome back. We're going to go over SmackDown real quick because this, I don't know.
Say it.
Very disappointed in SmackDown these last few weeks. The only highlight I see out of it is anytime the Bloodline does a promo.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
I mean, I'm starting to enjoy Ronda Rousey more.
Yeah. I think she kind of got shitted on by the critics this week.
Oh, definitely.
But let's go over it real quick. I mean, like I mentioned, we start off with the promo from the Bloodline. I don't think they've ever had a bad promo segment ever. I mean,
no, I remember them when they first came in.
Yeah.
To the WWE, and they've just been hot ever since.
Yeah. Roman Reigns, the way he talks, he's
got it.
Even Sarah, my wife, who doesn't watch wrestling a lot, not the biggest wrestling fan, but she even says, good hell, Roman has improved on that microphone since the last time I seen him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I have to agree. She's right. I mean, he's got the smooth talking going on. Paul Heyman, you can never experience anything bad from him. I mean, he's always good on the microphone regardless, whoever mouthpiece he's for. But I love the way he kind of hyped up to fear Brock Lesnar, but then transitions to overpower it with confiding that Roman Reigns will pretty much destroy him at SummerSlam. And that will be an interesting match. The one thing to note, though, was Theory coming out after their promo doing that little whatever fucking parade he was doing around the ring.
Didn't he come out twice?
Well, so, yeah, this was the thing. Before the Bloodline started their promo and they went to commercial break, we all saw Theory right there at the entranceway.
Yeah. It was like he was just running through.
I'm guessing he just went back to the backstage or gorilla, whatever they call it. And Bloodline goes on with their promo, and then after the promo's done, the music hits, Theory comes out and just, like I said, does that whatever fucking weird-ass parade he does around the ring to
We're going to
draw attention to himself to Roman.
We're going to call it a frolicking lap.
And I have to say it, if Roman does retain against Brock and Theory tries to cash in on him at SummerSlam, I just hope Roman kicks the shit out of him. I think this is the one guy that could turn Roman Reigns' face right now. and actually make the fans feel good about it. Just because Theory is a little punk-ass bitch.
He does a really good job of playing skeezy.
He does. I mean, it makes me laugh, don't get me wrong, but it still gets under my skin as a fan, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Do we want to get into this first one here? The Viking Raiders versus Jinder Mahal and Shanky.
Well, no, I just say Jinder Mahal because Shanky didn't participate in the match. He was outside dancing.
Really, the only notable thing about this was, one, we're excited to see the Viking Raiders back and being brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going the right direction with the Viking Raiders just because they made them look very weak.
Yeah, they did.
The last 2 years. And I think they deserve more respect than this, you know, especially after their run with Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling.
And the other notable part was New Day got beat up.
Yeah.
It's
I thought it was funny they came down and said, hey, that last ass whooping you gave us wasn't official, but here we got the certified ass whippings in our hand. But yet they come in the ring and they fail in their attempt to try to get even with the Viking Raiders. And this made the Viking Raiders look vicious as hell. And that's what creative really needs to do with teams like this, who are really well recognized within the wrestling community.
Yep.
There's just no reason to make these guys look weak. They should, honestly, these guys should be feuding for the tag team championships.
in my opinion, they should actually be the champs.
Exactly. Who knows? Maybe we'll see them be the ones that dethrone the Usos down the road.
Yep.
Doubt it, but it would be interesting. Going into match number 2, Shinsuke Nakamura defeats Ludwig, Kaiser.
Ludwig.
Yeah, thank you. And the way that match led up was Gunther comes out and wants to issue an open challenge for the Intercontinental Championship, but wants the challenger to earn it. In which this is illogical sense here to me. What's the point of calling it an open championship if you got to earn it, or an open challenge? Did I say open challenge or open championship?
I don't know.
Yeah, fuck it. Anyways, yeah, it doesn't make sense to say you're going to hold an open challenge, but you make your challenger earn it.
Agreed. And especially putting it with a talent that may not necessarily be as much of a challenge.
No. I mean, Shinsuke Nakamura is definitely a worthy challenger. I don't think he really needed to have a match to earn it.
No, and Ludwig, let's not get this wrong. I'm not saying Ludwig is a terrible wrestler. He's not. I was pretty vexed with them kind of just dismantling Imperium.
Yeah, it was definitely. I don't know the words to really say for it.
It's hard to say it because we have not seen a tag team like Imperium for a very long time.
No,
they were steamrolling and then.
Well, yeah, it's like they ended it abruptly, and I don't really watch NXT UK enough now. I wish I do, because I don't know what happened to Fabian Eichner.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they released him or not. I'll have to go back and look. He might have been part of those mass releases as of late. But yeah, when Ludwig was known as Marcel Bartel, great talent back then as a tag team wrestler. But you saw the punishment that Gunther gave him for failing to beat Shinsuke, the chops.
Yeah, which makes this the second match in a row on SmackDown that the after match outdid the actual match.
Yeah, and it was weird. You could see it in Ludwig's eyes that he wants to kind of stand up to Gunther in a way. Did you see that too, or?
Yeah, but if I was getting hit like that, I don't care about the fact that this is a choreographed entertainment program. Getting hit like that, you're gonna feel it.
Oh yeah. Well, you saw the marks on Ludwig's chest.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Jesus. I don't think I want to piss off Gunther ever.
Well, if you do, just put somebody in front of you.
Or try to find some padding to put on your chest, for hell's sakes. Anywho, we move on to a Liv Morgan interview, which, Michael Cole I think he does a great job helping those who aren't really necessarily well on the mic. Liv's a great talent in the ring, but her mic skills still definitely could use a little bit of improvement. But I don't think Michael Cole gets the recognition he deserves helping some of them talent out. He does a good job despite what many fans feel about him. But eventually the interview gets interrupted by Natalya and then by Ronda Rousey. We end up finding out Rousey's going to get a rematch for the SmackDown Women's Championship at SummerSlam. I'm hoping they don't make this a short reign for Liv. I do have a weird feeling, though, that Natalia and Rousey feud might still keep going, or who knows, Charlotte Flair may come back and come after her revenge for Ronda Rousey until she gets set up for yet another championship run, whichever brand it will be for. But then we see pretty much Rousey challenged Natty to a match despite her. I'm not sure if it's an actual real injury or if it's kayfabe injury, but I'm thinking it's kayfabe just based on the way I watched Ronda enter the ring. I think she entered the ring just fine with her injured knee. I don't know if you saw that either, but
the timing and the stepping down with the little jerk up,
yeah,
just really wasn't convincing to me.
Yeah, that didn't seem like it sold well, but nonetheless, I mean, at least Ronda Rousey's she's not like being sour or anything. She understands it's a business and things are going to go as planned. Chaos will ensue. However, I can't remember if I already announced it, but yeah, Ronda Rousey ends up defeating Natalia via tap out. Really wasn't a very long match.
This was ultimately kind of just a Rousey showing.
Right. It was kind of like, hey, Natty, I'll kind of show you up after you say that you're the one that's taking credit for Liv Morgan's championship win, which, in a way, kind of heel truth-wise, big shout out to Ted, the Hillbilly Hill, who does a great job on that heel truth. That's kind of like one of the classic examples of the heels telling the truth right there. I think Natty did injure Ronda enough to give Morgan that advantage to come cash it in and win on that premium live event night.
Yep. Definitely.
And then what was probably the most god-awful segment, and I don't know what the hell they're doing to this poor guy, Max Dupree. That Maximum Male Model segment, it did not do anything for me.
I'm not talking about it.
Yeah. Poor Mace, poor Mansoor, or as I should say, Masai, or Mansoor. Yeah, that was just not a segment well worth waiting for after the last 2 weeks of SmackDown. Let's bring back LA Knight, for God's sakes. Just bring him back.
Mm-hmm.
And then another fun thing, which was supposed to be another tag team match. It was supposed to be Lacey Evans and Aaliyah teaming up against Shayna Baszler and Shotzi, which didn't happen. I don't know for what reason, other than we see Lacey Evans coming back to the heel side. Takes out Aaliyah and lets the crowd know, hey, I sacrificed everything of my life for you guys, and you basically give me the shit treatment, and pretty much that's all it is. She goes back to being a heel, and I think that's where she needs to be, really. I thought it was just a little weird every time she gave her heartfelt real-life stories, which I'm not taking anything away from that. That's very awesome stories she told, it as long as they're true, Unfortunately, I just don't think it helped her trying to be a face, honestly.
I think as long as we've got some of the other faces going on in the women's division that are just basically a heartthrob, she's not going to be able to get anywhere doing babyface right now.
No. I feel like we got maybe far too many faces over the heels at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's why we see great runs from Roman Reigns, Theory. They just do an awesome job. But the problem is they don't really have anybody stepping up on the heel side. And I think with transitioning Evans back to the heel, where she's natural at it, I think that was probably the best move creative's done so far.
Yeah. They kind of went with two different women. They went two very wrong ways, in my opinion. Turning Lacey Evans face I think was a mistake, and turning Shotzi to heel.
Yeah, I think they should have kept Shotzi just much like her NXT character, where everybody was enjoying it. I loved the every week segment where she kept running over Robert Stone with the tank. I mean, that was just... I know a lot of people shit on that, but I'm sorry, I couldn't get enough of it. I just enjoyed her chasing him with that damn thing. But, yeah, I agree with you on the Shotzi. I think they should have left her a face for sure. I'm still a little head scratch with what they're doing with Baszler at the moment. I think they still need to get her more in the serious singles competition.
Yeah.
To me, she should have held that. She should have held the women's championships at least a couple of times by now. As dominant as she was in the NXT, they sure didn't really follow through very well with her in the main roster yet. Going on, the Usos have a squash match victory against Los Lotharios, which was scheduled to be a championship contenders match. And they really didn't do the Los Lotharios justice, as I think they're a really great team together.
They are.
But the Usos, with the reign and terror that the Bloodlines bring in, it definitely makes sense for them to still be dominant. I just don't know if I would have announced or made this a championship contenders match, though. I mean, we obviously know they're going to go again with the Street Profits at SummerSlam, which we found out after the match, and lo and behold, we're going to have a special guest referee, so that's going to be interesting to see who that ends up being. And then we go into the main event for the night, which...
Drew versus shit. Nope.
No, it wasn't Sheamus. It was Butch.
Quick win, and of course the after attack.
Yeah, the squash match didn't really do the former Pete Dunne very well. I'm a little disheartened with that one.
Me too, because he's an amazing talent.
And, the winner of this match gets the WWE the undisputed WWE Universal Championship match at the premium live event Clash at the Castle, which is going to take place September 3rd. There really wasn't much to the match. Drew McIntyre dominated. Claymore, wham bam, thank you ma'am, done.
Wasn't really digging Sheamus's acting pre-match either.
Yeah, I didn't really like the use of the COVID stuff either, but the thing that really baffled me, though, was after the match when Sheamus uses the sword that uses Angela to cut the top rope. She bent the damn sword. I'm like, that did not do the sword justice.
I got comments for it, but I'm not going to say them.
No?
No.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure it's offensive.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a small break here. Sorry you're going to listen to some more music, but right after we get back, we're going to get right into AEW's programming. Alrighty, let's get to the nitty-gritty of AEW for the week. In the opening match for AEW Dynamite, Wardlow becomes the new TNT champion after defeating Scorpio Sky in a street fight, and apparently with the rest of Scorpio Sky's cronies, the American Top Team, Dan Lambert and Ethan Page all accompanied to the ring. It just... this, in my opinion, wasn't exactly a great match, but it didn't matter. Does that make sense? It was kind of like a Goldberg classic in WCW when Goldberg went and eventually won the United States Championship, and then, just a month later ends up winning the World Heavyweight Championship. This was pretty much similar fashion, but Wardlow has got the fans behind him.
Yeah.
I think it was perfect to put the championship on him.
No, we knew this was coming.
And I think Wardlow is... I'm not saying Scorpio Sky did a bad job I mean, I think his run could have been a little bit longer with that championship as well. I didn't really see the need for him to hot potato it with Sammy Guevara.
Yeah, but to be fair with the comparison with this, Sky against Wardlow is beating a tank with a freaking wooden spoon.
Yeah, I mean, other than, that stupid ass Wardlow versus 20 security team members going up against him.
Oh, come on.
I mean, we're still trying to make Wardlow look like the man, and he did. He looked really great still. A very well earned championship victory for him. Of course, again, Scorpio Sky with a low blow early in the match. More ball shots there for you, Carlos. But yeah, it just, I think the amount of low blows we're seeing in wrestling today is just getting a little too old.
Except for,
obviously it was a heel move, but
except for one in particular that we'll get to a little bit later.
Yeah, I'll let you bring that one up.
Yep.
But nonetheless, congratulations to Wardlow winning the AEW TNT Championship. We go into Christian Cage and Luchasaurus being interrupted by Matt Hardy. I have to say, Christian Cage, damn, what a good promo that guy is on the mic.
I gotta say, honestly, we never really put him up there with people like The Miz or MJF, but really, he is a dominant
Oh, jeez.
heel.
I mean, that guy,
he knows how to dig that knife in, twist it.
When you got the entire arena calling you an asshole, and again, this is kind of more the way he was doing it was a heel telling so many truths.
Yeah.
You're welcome again there, Ted. But yeah, Christian just knew how to dig deep into the personal aspects of certain lives and using it in promos. Normally, I'm not a fan of it, but this one I think was kind of okay. He didn't go like totally overboard, but he knew what nerves to hit with how fans know what's going on in the wrestlers' real lives.
And just a shout out to Matt Hardy. Like, to be able to keep it together while dealing.
Yeah. I mean, it's never easy to see your brother
dealing with the actual issue.
Yeah, seeing your blood deal with problems, it's never easy. I mean, you and I know what that's like.
Yeah, and I mean, Matt's just been completely professional.
Yeah, and Matt's always been professional. Not saying it's never on his mind, but he knows that, business needs to go on and things will eventually carry on. We just hope Jeff Hardy well and hope to see him return once he completes his program and gets sobered up. And then we see the team of
Butcher and Blade
making a comeback, but they're going to fall to the team of, I guess now they're calling it Swerve in the Glory, the team of Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland continuing on their winning streak. It was a very physical match from both teams.
Yeah,
it was great seeing Butcher and Blade get some airtime.
Yeah, it was a good match. I was really, really entertained, but I was disappointed that it wasn't Butcher and Blade holding their hands high.
Yeah, that's a team that
they've deserved it for a long time.
They earned their airtime. I believe at the beginning, before the match even started, I think it was Tony Schiavone or Excalibur. One of them mentioned that Butcher and Blade were back within the top 5 ranks for the tag team championship.
Yes.
And yeah, it's great seeing them there. I think they're an overlooked tag team that really should be doing more or getting more opportunities than what they are right now.
100% agree.
But nonetheless, Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, they get the victory. But then we get the post-match. Excuse me, I'm going to take a second.
Okay.
Had to get a drink of water. My throat's getting too dry talking too much. Anywho, yeah, we see the post-match shenanigans with Team Taz coming out and obviously trying to create some ruckus with Swerve in the Glory. Then the Young Bucks come out, and just like Jurassic Express, they do something you don't see a whole lot of tag team champions do and make the challenge in a three-way match. So we're going to end up seeing the Young Bucks defend their AEW Tag Team Championships against the team of Team Taz and Swerve in the Glory.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, because didn't we already see Team Taz and Swerve in the Glory going a three-way match with Jungle Express?
Yeah, and they were basically just too focused on each other.
Yeah, I have a feeling this might be a repeat. I hope not, but I think that's where it's going to end up going. And who knows, maybe we see Keith Lee turn on Strickland. It's hard. But I think Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland are doing a good job with the whole Keith Lee still having trust issues with Swerve, which is very valid. I mean, it's a good little kayfabe segment going on. We have Eddie Kingston doing a little interview until it gets cut short. Jericho Appreciation Society gets the attention of a cameraman in the back, and we see Tay Conti slam the car door on Ruby Soho's hand, which I'm not sure where they were going with that, other than I think AEW's been displaying how good of friends Eddie Kingston and Ruby Soho are. I believe they are real life good friends. Nonetheless, you see Eddie getting very emotional after that happened, and we cut to break, coming back with Dark Order now coming out to the ring and letting all the fans know, hey, we're here to stay. And I think this was just more or less paying tribute to Brody Lee, since Dynamite this week was in Rochester, New York, the hometown of Brody Lee. It was a great little segment. It was nice seeing Brody Lee Jr. out there, also known as Negative One, come out and have a little bit of fun. And, of course, QT Marshall being the little...
You read the same thing I read?
Yeah, being the little guy who pokes the bear too much. I just love seeing the fact that Hangman Adam Page came out to aid Dark Order in this little shenanigans and come back and let them know they're a cohesive unit. It was great seeing Brody Lee Jr. out there and seeing the fans remember Brody Lee chanting his name. I'm still just a little disappointed that, AEW did not re-sign Stu Grayson. I thought he was a great member and paired very well with Evil Uno in tag team matches to represent the Dark Order. Fortunately, things didn't work out. But who knows, maybe we'll see him back in the future. I hope so. Going on to match number 3 for the night. I'm thinking this is where you're going to mention Ball Shot again.
No, it's not.
Oh, because that's exactly what happened. Rush defeats Penta Oscuro thanks to a low blow and demasking Penta. God, again, like I said, overuse of the low blows is kind of getting a little old. But, I mean, I get it on a heel perspective, but there's other ways to get the cheap heat too,
Right.
There's other ways to cheat. Just quit using low blows.
So I really actually enjoyed this match a lot.
Yeah.
Just because you've got two different styles, completely different styles of athleticism, but they still made it flow.
Right. And Rush is a very great hand to have, too. I mean, him and Andrade also being, a tag team before known as Faction Igor Nobles. And they just gel well together. That's all I can say. Rush being a former Ring of Honor World Champion, 2-time Ring of Honor World Champion, excuse me. I mean, this guy definitely should be in the future running for some single title runs.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Is there a promo next?
I don't recall a promo, but I don't really make a whole lot of notes on promos. I'm not...
Yeah, I pretty much never do.
I mean, I I don't mind storylines. I just don't.
Right.
I mean, I'm gonna beat a dead horse again because I mentioned it in earlier programs. If you got a wrestling in the ring, I want to see wrestling.
Yep. So that brings us to, the Acclaimed
And
the Gun Club versus
Bear Country, Leon Ruff, and Fuego del Sol.
Right. And honestly, this was just short and terrible.
No, I mean, it pretty much was a setup for Gun Club to eventually just finally turn on the Acclaim.
Which I would have rather they just walked out to the ring
and attacked them.
Did a segment where they were talking,
Yeah.
Come up with something like that.
Well, and I think the surprise element where Billy Gunn was getting along with the Acclaim, seeing him turn on the Acclaimed was classic heel move,
Yep.
He sitting there making it look like he scolded his sons, but he was showing his sons how it's really done and makes the attack. And I think with the fans getting behind the Acclaim more and more in the recent weeks.
Yeah, they're going to have to be on their own.
This definitely was a great way to make them full-fledged face team now, and I think it's well deserved. I mean, the Acclaim have gotten better since their initial AEW debut, and I really hope eventually down the road, as hard as they've been working, I think we'll eventually see them be a contender for the tag team championships. Next we have Thunderstorm defeating the team of Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir. And
wow.
I don't know. I'm starting to see a consistent thing here where it seems like, and I'm not saying this isn't me being negative, but being very critical of AEW with the women's division. I think we need to find ways to get the women in a better spotlight and more time. I know their division's not as strong as what we see with Impact or WWE right now, but they're not going to get better if you keep putting them in the not so great spots in the cards. I was a little disappointed with the Forbidden Door pay-per-view where they had Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm in the middle of the card where normally a lot of people use that area of any live event or premium event as their intermission break. I just think they need to find a way to place the women a little better where the fans are a little more engaged. They're ready to be fired up. Because the talent of Toni Storm, Thunder Rosa, they're fan favorites.
Yeah. This was a solid match. I get where you're going with it. I can't say I disagree. But this was the other match that I noticed there was some hesitation during.
And see, maybe I just didn't see the hesitation.
It was brief, but there was hesitation from Thunderstorm.
Oh, working as a tag team?
Yeah.
Okay. And see, my experience this week, and I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag, I actually listened to the programs more than I did watch them. I mean, I went back and watched some highlights, but listening to them kind of put different perspective in how I reviewed it this week, and maybe that's why I'm kind of a little more positive than negative this week. But I did watch SmackDown and Rampage, so that's why I was a little more critical of those programs. Nonetheless, yeah, like you said, it was a solid match. I just think it was placed wrong for Dynamite's event that night.
Yep.
Then going into the main event, Jon Moxley manages to retain the interim AEW championship against Brody King in kind of which was a match, obviously, that didn't get enough time for what it should have been.
No, but still.
Brody, I mean, the weird thing was Brody King dominated the match, but Jon Moxley managed to
pick away at him and get the victory.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the finish just came out of nowhere and wham, Jon Moxley won. And even though the program went, I think it was like 2 or 3 minutes past the normal time slot.
Yeah, it still didn't get the time that you say it deserved, and you're right. because
Yeah.
this would have been a thunderous and well-welcomed match.
The way this looked, I think, in a way, it would make sense to have Brody King have a rematch against Jon Moxley, but the next match better have a lot more time than what this was given.
Yeah.
I think maybe part of the problem was the promos were just taking up either too much time or some of the matches. Well, no, because I felt the matches actually had proper time, all of them. I just think placement was the terrible part for some of them. Obviously, we didn't really need the match with the Acclaimed and Gun Club going against Bear Country, Leon Ruff, and
No, I would have
Fuego del
preferred...
Sol. If they took that match out and just went with a promo segment where Gun Club turned on the Acclaimed, then I think maybe the Moxley and Brody King match would have had the better time that it needed.
This is one I would have preferred to see elongated.
Right. Well, and I think that match was added because supposedly the way it was said, Tony Khan added that match because the TNT Championship match didn't go to the time limit. I think he just would have been better off not having the match, period. All right, going on to Rampage. I think about 3/4 of it was a pretty good card.
Yeah, there's one in particular part of it that I wasn't too thrilled about.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be the same one where we're at, or the same one I'm thinking you're thinking.
Yeah.
But let's get right into it real quick. Eddie Kingston defeating Konosuke
Takeshita.
I was going to get Takeshita wrong, but I don't know if I pronounced his first name right.
Probably not.
Like I said, I suck at, foreign names. Well, anything that's not American.
So,
But anyways,
just going to say it, killer way to start it off.
yeah, Eddie Kingston kind of went outside his brawler style a little bit for the match. He went more grappling, which, typically you don't see Eddie do a whole lot of grappling, but when he does it very well. He makes him look good. Takeshita doing a few out of character moves, he kind of didn't let up on Eddie, but that was probably the best tactic too.
Yeah, I'm nothing but impressed by Takeshita.
Yeah, Takeshita is a great hand, but the feeling during the match, there was no clear heel or face or who was really leading the match. Nonetheless, it was just a great overall match. Brawler versus grappler, where they managed to compromise their styles and nonetheless made it look good. The fans were pretty much entertained from bell to bell, and Eddie Kingston, with the way he won, that was kind of interesting. Have him just fall on Takeshita and 1, 2, 3, it was over. Then we see tag team match, I guess you can call it that. The Gates of Agony defeating the team of Lee Moriarty and the turncoat Jonathan Gresham. It was, as far as what we saw in ring, great.
Yeah, storytelling, good.
Lee Moriarty is, not just Lee, but Lee Moriarty is damn good talent. The Gates of Agony really impressed the hell out of me. Jonathan Gresham, I know, is a great talent already. I mean, watching him in Ring of Honor and Impact, I can't really say a negative thing about this guy. He never really has a bad match when he does wrestle.
No, and the direction they went with this was a good way to lead into that Moriarty versus Gresham.
Right. In fact, remember I was talking to you about Silas Young making his AEW debut a couple weeks back?
Yeah.
One match I would recommend going back at Ring of Honor is seeing Jonathan Gresham and Silas Young go at each other. They had some really killer matches back then.
Yep.
Then going into the match where...
Nope.
Yeah, this was definitely not high on my list. The team of Serena Deeb and Mercedes Martinez defeating the team of Kayla Sparks and Christina Marie in a real short squash match. Post-match, we see Deeb and Martinez pretty much argue with each other, and then Deeb makes the attack on Martinez. I think it's pretty clear Deeb wants the shot at the Ring of Honor Women's Championship.
Right, but this was a waste of airtime, in my opinion.
Yeah, it kind of felt like more it was just a kind of like a padding before it led up to the main event.
Yeah.
To me, it just felt like this should have been a match on darker elevation.
Yeah, I really don't even have anything else to say about this.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and move on to the main event.
Yep.
Orange Cassidy defeating the premier athlete Tony Nese, and
Fantastic match.
yeah, I mean, both guys looked really awesome. I said in the previous episodes, Orange Cassidy is just one of those talents that wows the hell out of you if you really never watched him in his independent days, but the guy can impress you with all of his movesets.
I'd really like to see him holding the gold at some point.
I think we will. I just don't think right now is the time for him. If they can kind of, I don't know. I think it's one of those moments where either he would need to have a little more seriousness to his skills, but the character, it's hard to really change it. You know, the fans are all too well with it. It would be hard to. I mean, he's held championships before in other promotions, don't get me wrong. It would be awesome to see something around him. I just think creative might have a hard time finding ways to fit it in with the current champions we have now. But you never know.
So we're going to get to it because I've been waiting to say it. Could you have a more perfect picture perfect moment with Danhausen than that direct, aimed, timed, perfectly nut punch?
There you go again, Carlos. Ball shot.
He even bent down and aimed with his face.
Oh, yeah. And then, throwing the curse on Tony Nese just before Orange Cassidy gives him the orange punch.
Yeah, go Danhausen.
Yeah, Danhausen, I'll tell you, that was a great pickup for AEW. I was really hoping right after the Jericho cruise that I attended last October when we got to see him a little bit. I was really hoping that would be a great talent eventually down the road, because Ring of Honor was still going then, but flopped after that.
Yeah.
And the minute I saw that all the Ring of Honor talent were released to their contracts, I think everybody in the wrestling community told Tony Khan, hey, you need to sign this guy, and luckily he did.
I'm just a little shocked to see Danhausen and Orange Cassidy kind of working together there.
Yeah, well, I mean, when
at that point, you're kind of pushing comedic relief against each other.
Well, I don't know. I think they make a great duo. I mean, I think having Danhausen go with Hook for that little bit did. It definitely showed a different side of Hook too, But Danhausen, yeah, he can definitely bring some great moments with the fans and everything. He's well over. Not like your best wrestler on the card, obviously, but great comedic talent. But nonetheless, I think, though, down the road, we need to get Tony Nese into a little more serious competition, because the guy is very good in the ring. I just think the last little bit where he's been putting talent over, we need to see him in a more prominent role that makes him look a little more serious. Same with Orange Cassidy, like you said. I think both men are deserving of getting some title runs here in the future.
Oh yeah, they got what it takes.
We just need to make sure creatively it makes sense.
And right now, with certain people being up at the top where they're at right now, they're not going to be done with their run.
Right. And that's our take on Rampage. We're just going to go ahead and get right into it. I mentioned earlier in the program we're going to start doing some top 10s, and these are lists that we compromised of all the brands, whether It's Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Rampage,
Small correction.
Dynamite.
Comprised.
Comprised. I'm sorry, what did I say?
You said compromised.
Oh, Jesus. That shows you how tired and long my day's been. We're recording on a Saturday night, by the way, so that's why we sound a little tired, because we had full days already ahead of us. Nonetheless, do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Do you want me to go through all of them at once, or do we want to go back and forth on number 1, number 2, number 3?
I was actually thinking we'll start with number 10 and work our way up to 1.
Works with me. I'll go first. Los Lotharios. My number 10.
My number 10, the Viking Raiders. I feel they are finally getting the respect they deserve as a tag team, and they're starting to show how vicious they can be as competitors.
See, my reason for Lotharios is because we know they're a great team.
Right.
I just think they keep getting kind of a...
I think they get the shaft.
They get the raw deal.
Yeah.
My number 9, Wardlow.
Good pick. I'm going with Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes, I felt, definitely showed a different side to his competitive spirit in the ring. You know, obviously saying he's got more heart than what Braun Breaker did. And he brought it to the table at the Great American Bash.
Okay. So, number 8 for me, Ronda Rousey. Just, when I first started watching her in the ring, I was not impressed.
Well, no, she came in very green.
Yes, she did. But she has changed so much and gotten so much better.
Yeah, I just think the fans need to quit being so critical of, very nitpicky with her in-ring skills and promo skills.
I would call it stop trying to be a bunch of little cornets.
Right. That's how I would say it. But we're on number 8, right?
Yes.
So my number 8 was Grayson Waller, based on his performance with Carmelo Hayes for the North American Championship. Both men brought it to the table, and I have to say, great things are coming for Grayson Waller as long as he keeps up the great work he's doing.
I agree. I'm a big fan of Waller. Number 7? I don't think I really need to explain this pick. Takeshita.
No, you don't really have to explain any of your picks. I just like to detail why on mine.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm saying is that Takeshita pretty much just explains it for you.
Yeah, great hand. Obviously, an awesome talent over on the New Japan side.
Yeah.
And my number 7 goes to John Moxley. And the reason why I got him a little bit lower on the top 10 is just I don't think the match did him very well.
No,
but still carrying momentum, retaining being the interim AEW World Champion, that still holds a pretty high regard for where he ranks.
Yeah, I think I kind of feel what you're feeling about that, though. There was no new content to it.
No.
So, good choice, though. Number 6. You're going to love this one, buddy. Ezekiel.
And see, I didn't have him on my top 10. I probably should have, but
I put him there just because he's doing so damn good.
Yeah, he's getting better. He's showing that he can mesh well, especially with talents like Seth freaking Rollins. I mean,
yeah,
you can't really argue that he doesn't deserve to be in the top 10 for anyone's list. But going on with my number 6, just because, you know, he finally got the opportunity and ran with it, Wardlow becoming the TNT Championship is my number 6 pick.
Nice. That's kind of the same reason I picked him on my number 9. It's just, we've been waiting for a long time to see this.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, especially after the so long shenanigans with MJF, that finally it just came out and released the monster.
Right. Number 5 for me, Orange Cassidy.
And see, that's funny. My number 5, Tony Nese.
Huh. All right.
Wait till number 4 here.
Yeah, we'll see. So, my number 4 is actually Serena Deeb.
Oh, good choice.
Not particularly for the performance this week, but she's still out there showing the skill, still playing the part.
Well, she's overcome a lot, not just on the professional, but the personal level too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, she's one of those women out there that should be pretty much like the role model, the leader for all the future women wrestlers out there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she has such a strong, legitimate story behind her, and to watch her still continue to wrestle is awesome.
Yeah, and aside from that, you're going to be hard pressed to find another female
like her
that has her skill set alone.
Right. I'll tell you, if one dream match, I would say if they were in their primes, would be Serena Deeb and Medusa, also known as Alundra Borlase. I cannot talk. Fuck.
Wait, really? That's who Medusa is?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Oh, wow.
No, most people I talk to about Alundra Blaze don't even know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Medusa from WCW. I think she also wrestled in USWA. Yeah, she was Alundra Blaze there in the WWF times.
Yep.
My number 4, which I said was kind of funny, Orange Cassidy. Only just because he got the victory over Tony Nese. I'm sorry. Those two were neck and neck in the rankings for me.
Yeah, and honestly, it's just my own personal favorite Orange Cassidy, just because I'm one of his fans.
Yeah. I mean, well, shit, even Jim Ross said, I was not a fan of this guy at first, but I became a big fan of his.
Watching his shtick at first was just so odd.
Yeah. I mean, like...
What are you doing?
Well, you watch so many of his independent stuff on YouTube, you'll see a lot of jackasses out there, pardon my language. Sorry, that's why I marked the show explicit if you don't like it. So many people will sit there and comment on those YouTube videos saying this guy's going to injure somebody or he's not really a great talent. It's like, are you guys having an open mind of what this guy's character is? It's unique. Nobody else has done this type of character.
Aside from that, let's just be honest. Nobody likes a backdoor internet troll.
No.
Enough.
Yeah. Anywho, yeah, moving on.
Yeah, number 3 for me. And this one might actually surprise you. Carmelo Hayes.
No, doesn't surprise me.
Well, I mean, you take how I really didn't like him at first, and then to this point, it's only been, a couple of months? And I've made it to the point where he's my number 3.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, my number 3 goes to Asuka after that main event on Raw. She took one hell of a beating, and
She definitely took a table well.
I'm sorry, I'm going to go ahead and jump in on this first. Excuse me, froggy throat. Not only did I have Asuka at number 3, but number 2, Becky Lynch, just because the two women put on one hell of a performance on our holiday telecast.
Oh, yeah. And then Becky never, ever lies about the fact that she's not the greatest wrestler ever, but she is very, very physical with what she does have for a skill set in that ring.
Well, yeah, early in her career, if you ever watched the WWE, I think it was 24 or something on Becky Lynch, every bit of the talent that knew Becky Lynch from the start said, no, she was goddamn awful in the ring, but...
Well, even Stone Cold's podcast with her.
Yeah. I mean, she admitted that to herself.
But she's come a long way, and she really, really just goes out there and performs her heart out.
Well, and you don't just make it to WWE if you're sucking.
No.
I mean...
And especially from an international level when she came in.
Right.
That really wasn't heard of that much.
Right. And she did really well. I mean, she became the first undisputed women's champion, combining the titles at WrestleMania.
She's done it with a good attitude the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, you're number 2?
Viking Raiders.
Yeah.
I am excited to see what's to come.
Yes. I think it's time for them to take the ball, run with it, get a tag team championship run, and hopefully have it be a little more serious than the Raw tag team championship run they had.
Yes, sir.
I think that is a team very deserving to dethrone the Usos or whoever holds titles at the time they do face them.
I can't argue whatsoever.
All right. And then your number one?
Well, did you give your number two?
Yeah. It was Becky Lynch.
Oh, yeah. You gave it ahead of time.
Yeah.
That's what you meant by jumping.
Yeah, I cut in front of you, kind of.
All right. Well, here you go, fans. Here's probably the biggest shocker. Penta Asquero.
Wow.
Is my number one.
Yeah, that definitely shocked me because I didn't have him in any of my top 10. I probably should have had him or Roosh somewhere in there, but...
So, Penta Asquero to me is just I lucha.
Yeah. I mean, this guy shows that he's not just a tag team wrestler, he's a good singles wrestler.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody loved watching Rey Mysterio when we were younger, you know. He was the top guy. But compared to Rey Mysterio, Penta Asquero, or Penta El Cero Miedo, whatever he's calling himself at the moment.
Whichever name at the moment.
Right. His moveset and his ability far outweighs.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, he's one of those talents that's universal no matter where he's at. And that's a good thing, because you can do so many things with the guy.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's too many matches you can put him in where he's not going to thrive, except for maybe a women's match.
And I'm not sure if I mentioned this in previous episodes. I think it was him and Kenny Omega for the New Japan or the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at the pay-per-view event All In.
Yes.
I don't know if you watched that at all.
I didn't get to watch it. I only saw clips.
Yeah. I think you can actually YouTube it and watch it. I think it's in different sections, though. Not like one full thing. But nonetheless, my number one pick in my top 10 for the week goes to Carmelo Hayes.
Yep. That's not a surprise at all.
I mean, the guy...
He's crushing it.
Yeah. I mean, the guy... I will say it again. He knows how to use the mic. His in-ring skills wows the shit out of me.
Yeah, he's got the fans behind him.
Yeah, I mean, he would definitely be a good tweener. I wouldn't mind seeing them try a face run on him at some point, but I don't know if a full-fledged face turn would be a way to go with him.
I would be almost more into him being a neutral.
Yeah. Well, a tweener, basically. I love his barber shop segments that pop up every once in a while, because he does a good job on them. But nonetheless, yeah, that's my number one for the week. And that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Wrestling Fans Insight. I want to thank Will for joining me, coming back from being away last week. We recorded again on Saturday night. Will's going to have some things to do tomorrow with his best friend, and it's his best friend's birthday. And Mikey, if you listen to us, happy birthday, buddy. I also want to give some shout outs to some other wrestling fan accounts and wrestling podcasts. I'd like to give a shout out to Carlos Estrada. I want to give a shout out to, I think he calls himself Real Fuego 2.0 now these days. Raul, thank you for always being a great listener to us and promoting our podcast on Twitter. Also want to give a big shout out to Ted the Hillbilly Hill, who does an awesome job each and every week with his episodes. Austin Boyer with the Wrestling World podcast. Also, the Botch Spots and Chair Shots podcast. The Armchair Booking Wrestling podcast. The Midwest Marks podcast. Mid podcast. Sideline Sports podcast. Agosto All Elite, who does a podcast with Noah weekly. They do some great content as well. Also want to give a shout out to Heather, who's known as, I believe, Bama Girl Forever on Twitter. Another great person on Twitter to interact with. And I hope I don't get this name wrong. One of our Facebook followers, Alex Narva, who's a great hand there over at Amazon. Used to work with my wife over there at the West Valley facility. And I want to give a big shout out to my wife, who encourages me to do these podcasts. It took me a while to kind of start it up. I've always had that feeling where I don't like listening to the playback of my voice, and sometimes I listen back, sometimes not so much. I just like most many podcasters out there, I cringe every time I hear my voice played back to me. But nonetheless, I want to thank each and every one of you who do take the time to tune in and listen to our podcast. We know there's thousands of other wrestling podcasts out there, and we encourage you to listen to as many as you can. We love supporting the fellow wrestling community out there, and it's a positive community as long as we keep the negativity out of it. I want to give a big thanks to Libsyn.com for hosting our podcast. We couldn't do it and get our voices heard without them. Also, now we are on Spotify, iOS, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Odyssey, Player FM, Samsung, Geo7, and most recently we're starting to get our content on Boomplay, Deezer, Ghana, and I'm not sure if it's pronounced Rezo or Rezo. I'm sorry if I butchered those platform names, but you can listen to us on most of them platforms, as well as some others that I haven't mentioned. You can also interact with us. You can leave us voicemail or any kind of feedback at area code 385-367-4772. You can also reach me on Twitter at John, JOHNWF, INCITE, basically John WF Insight, just like the show's spelled. We also have our Facebook group. You can find us in the groups section under the Fans of Pro Wrestling. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot. Do you, Will?
Nope, I do not. Thank you for listening to us, and we'll be back next week.
All right, peace out, everyone. Many blessings to you, and we'll catch you next week.